It's all going to zero against Bitcoin.
It's going up forever.
You're against Bitcoin, you're against freedom.
Yo, welcome to Simply Bitcoin Live, your number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution, cover breaking news, culture, dramatic warfare. Will be your guide through the separation of money and state. Ladies and gentlemen, Opti is with me in the flesh here in Miami, and we are getting ready for the Mining Disrupt conference, which we're going to be officially live streaming from the Simply Bitcoin channel. So we are going to be taking a couple days off. Like, if we can do the show on the floor while the conference is happening, we'll be doing the show Tuesday and Wednesday. I don't know. We have to go to the venue, have to check things out, but we might be missing Tuesday and Wednesday, but you can still tune in to the Simply Bitcoin channel, and we'll be giving you like hot fire signal from the industry greats of the Bitcoin mining industry. And of course, Opti and I will be offering commentary in between the breaks and hopefully getting some of those CEOs and industry leaders and just asking them questions about, Bitcoin mining and all that stuff. So really excited for it. And then we'll be back with the regular Thursday episode on Thursday. We'll be back with Simply Bitcoin Live on Thursday. So anyways, a couple things that I wanted to cover today. First off is apparently, a lot of people are saying that it's the Mt. Gox thing that has dumped the price. We did have a pretty big correction. I think we were at 66, 65K, dumped all the way down to 60K. We're definitely going back down to 10K. But no, in all seriousness, it's like your emotions always, always get the best of you. But historically in these times, like from being in the market for 8 years now, these are actually like the best times to buy when, you kind of fear and you're like, oh, what's going on? And, you get those like voices in the back of your head saying like, holy shit, is this going to dump lower? Those are the best times to just go ape in and stack those sats. And also a pretty great interview with this up and coming Bitcoin podcaster. He was able to get an interview with Michael Saylor at BTC Prague, and Michael Saylor. And I know we've been and again, I can't emphasize this enough. Simply Bitcoin doesn't make any types of predictions, and we don't like to speculate on the price whatsoever. But when notable figures do talk about the price, it seems like you guys like that type of content. So we do like to highlight it. And we got this latest clip of Saylor basically being ultra mega bullish and throwing out the $10 million number. $10 million number is very notable because that's the number that Hal Finney back in the early days of Bitcoin, when Bitcoin was I think less than $100, I just threw this crazy number out there. And so far it seems like Bitcoin is on track. And I think the question is not if, I think the question is when. Also during the culture segment, we got a special guest. We got the most wicked in Bitcoin. We got Wicked in the house. How you doing, Wicked?
Hey guys, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining us, brother. Opti, how you doing, bro? We're very, very close and tight. It's very, it's very
intimate.
It's very intimate in the Nico's Miami studio. But anyways, it's gonna be great. Lots of work to do that Opti and I still have left, setting up for this Mining Disrupt conference. But we're looking forward to it. It's gonna be absolutely epic, and you guys should definitely tune in tomorrow and Wednesday, and we'll bring you guys the hot fire. So guys, we got a loaded show, so much to unpack. But before we jump into it, Opti, what are we going to talk to Wicked about during the culture segment?
Yeah, so I got a few of Wicked's tweets up here. We're going to pull them up, but we were actually going to talk about this before the show started, just getting Wicked's thoughts on the diminishing returns meme, but we thought maybe we should just have this conversation live on air. And then, of course, I know Wicked's super big on the idea of DCAing, so we're going to hit on some DCA memes. And then also, maybe a controversial take here, but Wicked is also going to dive deep on being a bits maxi. So I know they're going to throw tomatoes at us, Wicked, but I think these are all good conversations to have on today's show. So I'm super excited for this. And man, again, let me know if there's some charts you want to pull up. I do have some back here in regards to what you're looking at, what you're watching. But yeah, we're going to talk diminishing returns, some DCA action, and then some bits maxi memes over here, which I know the chat is going to lose their minds because they're all sats maxis. So I love triggering the chat when we can, Wicked. So this is going to be a great show.
Yeah, I can't wait. And for anyone who doesn't follow Wicked on Bitcoin Twitter, you definitely should. He drops some wicked hot fire. You can go follow him at W_S_Bitcoin and drop some very good signal. Anyways, guys, before we jump into today's show, starting off the Monday strong, I do want to give a shout out to our lead sponsor. And of course, I'm talking about the best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack. I'm talking about bitcoinwell.com. Buy real Bitcoin, enable your independence with the fastest and safest way to buy Bitcoin in Canada, in the USA. To get started, all you got to do is you put in your email address, you get started. There's a clear 1% spread, the lowest spread in North America. Get more Bitcoin for every dollar. It's obviously Bitcoin only, focused on Bitcoin excellence, enabling true financial independence. You can only do that on a Bitcoin standard. And of course, it's completely non-custodial. What does that mean? That means that you can't buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well unless you intend to take self-custody, which perfectly aligns with the Simply Bitcoin ethos of the separation of money and state, because self-custody is the revolution. Also, for existing customers of Bitcoin Well, and if you haven't signed up yet, if you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, you earn Bitcoin Well points, and you can use those Bitcoin Well points towards the Bitcoin Wishing Well. So we're going to do that today, and we're going to toss a coin into the Wishing Well. And here we go. Let's do that. Let's redeem those 500 points. Opti, not you.
Dude, I'm taking the million sats.
And boom, a first person to scan the QR code wins those 500 sats. By the way, every time you throw a coin into the Bitcoin Wishing Well, you have an opportunity to win up to 1 million Satoshis. So first person to scan this QR code who's watching the show gets those 500 sats. Sign up Bitcoin Well today using the Simply Bitcoin promo code of SimplyBTC, and you get 3 tosses into the Bitcoin Wishing Well absolutely free. And of course, you know, this is a Canadian company after all, and they've made us hockey fans, Opti and I. And tonight is the NHL Stanley Cup. It's the final game. Whoever wins this game becomes the winner. And you can predict, and you can win up to 6 coin tosses if you correctly predict. Obviously, I'm a little biased. I'm going to predict Florida. And good luck to you and your team. So go to the hockey poll, make those predictions. But anyways, guys, let's move on to the numbers. Lots to talk about today. Let's check it out. Here we go.
The Bitcoin numbers.
Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Is your seed phrase really secure? Stamp Seed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them on paper. Don't store your generational wealth on paper. Paper is prone to water damage, fire damage. You want to put your generational wealth on one of the strongest metals on planet Earth, titanium. Your words are actually stamped into this metal plate with this hammer and these letter stamps. And once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamped seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin with peace of mind for the long haul. Stamp your seed on Stamp Seed. Everybody, I made it incredibly easy for you guys. Scan the QR code on your screen if you want your grandchildren to talk to you. If you don't, then don't scan the QR code. It's probably a good idea to stamp your generational wealth onto titanium and not write down your seed words on paper. So again, if you want your grandchildren to talk to you, buy yourself a Stamp Seed storage kit. Use promo code SIMPLY. You get 15% off. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is $60,890. Opti and I are going to go back to ramen. Sats per dollar, 1,643. Block height, 849,324. Blocks to halving, 200,676. Oh, the halving's priced in. Halving estimate, March 25th, 2028. Total Lightning Network capacity, 4,869 Bitcoin. Capacity value, $296 million US. Realized monetary inflation, 1.57%. The market capitalization of Bitcoin, 1.2 trillion US dollars with a T. Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 7.53%. In the grand scheme of things, we're just getting started. I think during these times of uncertainty, during these times of volatility, it's probably a good idea to look back into the past, because if you don't learn from the past, you're destined to repeat it. Here is Max Kaiser, absolute legend, October 30th, 2013. When BTC was 20 cents, nobody believed it could trade to 200. At 200, nobody believes it can get to 20,000. A few will, however. And 5 years from that prediction, Bitcoin did indeed hit 20,000, and this was back in 2013. So I think it's important. I think us human beings, we're just like, we still have those ape brains. We still have those chimp brains, right? And, it's important that during this volatility, look, I'll tell you what, guys, hodling, if you just break it down, you're like, that is so freaking easy. But actually doing it, it like takes your soul. It's very hard to say that, but it is absolutely true. Here's the legendary prediction of how Finney back 2000, literally 2009. And he's just kind of doing this thought experiment. And he says, an amusing thought experiment. Imagine that Bitcoin is successful and becomes a dominant payment system in use throughout the world. Then the total value of the currency should be equal to the total value of all the wealth in the world. Current estimates of total worldwide household wealth that I have found range from 100 trillion to 300 trillion. With 20 million coins, that gives each coin a value of about $10 million. Now, this was back in the day. Here is Michael Saylor in one of his latest interviews with the podcaster Robin Sire. By the way, huge fan. I think he did an excellent job in this podcast. Great job. So shout out to him and give him a follow. He's up and coming. Let's check out Michael Saylor talking about $10 million Bitcoin.
And if you just want Bitcoin to be successful, when you hear the Bank of Shanghai is rolling out a Bitcoin ETF custody of the Bank of Shanghai, you would say, that's great. That's going to give access to Bitcoin to 1.5 billion people in China. Okay. And they're going to buy a bunch of Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin is going to go up to $10 million coin. So here's the question. Do you want the billion people in China to be rich? And do you want to be rich while the Chinese government still has a bunch of laws that you may or may not agree with? Or do you want the people in China to be poor and you to be poor while the Chinese government has a set of laws that you don't agree with?
Pretty easy.
Or do you think that you're so great, you're Superman, that you can just go and topple the entire government by barking on Twitter? It's like, I just don't think, right, that you're going to topple, an entire sovereign nation with your ideology. So,
I mean, is he just saying that to be hyperbolic? Do you believe in that? I mean, it kind of makes sense. China has a very, populous nation. I'm going to pass it on to you, Wicked. Wicked, you focus a lot of your time and energy putting together these awesome kind of like infographics that are so well made. So, I mean, do you think that's just rhetoric from Michael Saylor? I mean, he does have a history of back in the day. I think there was a very famous video of him in 2011 predicting that Apple stock was just going to go through the effing moon, and it totally did. He hit the nail on the head with that prediction, like 100%. So, is this something that we're going to see in our lifetimes? Like, do you see and again, it's impossible to see. And just like the Max Kaiser tweet, like back then, $200 Bitcoin, $20,000 Bitcoin probably seemed unfeasible. What's your take on that, Wicked?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. There's a couple of things. First of all, you have to consider, is this an inflation adjusted number, right? Because with inflation, everything's going to reach $10 million eventually, right? The dollar is going to fail, and then everything will be infinite number of dollars. So if this is like $10 million in today's dollars, then I think that could be possible eventually if Bitcoin kind of, like Hal said, represents basically the value of everything or near the value of everything. It's actually higher now, right? The value of everything is like closer to a quadrillion at this point because of inflation. So now we're talking like, I think like 50 million per Bitcoin would would account for all of that value. So 10 million is just kind of, it's on the way up there to getting to the, the value of everything, if that is to happen with Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin is the best money in the world, it's hard to believe that it won't eventually eat the value of everything. So I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe not in our lifetimes, but maybe in our kids, it might get there. We'll see.
You're a bearish apple. Anyways, Opti.
I'm a bear. I just said 50 million.
Exactly. Opti, what's your take on this, brother?
Well, I usually reference the How Finney quote as well, and I always have to highlight the date, and I actually got the date today, which was January 10th, 2009. So like literally 2 weeks after the
1 week,
yeah,
1 week after Genesis.
Exactly. 1 week after the Genesis block, How Finney was already saying $10 million per Bitcoin. Just absolutely bullish. And it really kind of reminds me of the Kaiser tweet. Everyone in the chat right now, we're all wondering like, why is it going to 60K? And even today, a 10x to 600,000 per coin, we're all like, yeah, it's going to get there eventually, but not this cycle. And so you can feel the same type of energy regarding the Bitcoin price right now and all of the factors that are playing out where it's like, man, there's so much capital that is just literally 3 months ago, just unleashed, ready to be deployed into Bitcoin. And we're still all super bearish because we have PTSD from the last cycle. And we're like, it's like, let's break 100K first and foremost before we even talk about these numbers. But one thing though that I did find hilarious in that Saylor tweet is he kind of going down the beauty on route where he's like, yeah, your memes mean nothing. They're not going to change anything, which to a point, like I kind of agree to a certain extent, because like what really matters here is the amount of capital going into Bitcoin. Hence why there's so many times when I get frustrated with Bitcoin, it's like, it's not about the price, bro. And it's like, it's literally all about the price because that's a real-time metric of the capital coming into Bitcoin. And so, yeah, we love the technology behind Bitcoin. We're all in it for the tech, obviously, but the price is a real-time indicator of how much capital is going into Bitcoin. And it's super important if you kind of separate the fact that it's not just about being a moon boy, it's about understanding that as the price goes up, that means more capital is going into Bitcoin, which kicks off the positive feedback loop, which means more people are going to know about Bitcoin and start to FOMO into Bitcoin. So, stay stupidly bullish like How Finney out there and do $10 million Bitcoin predictions when Bitcoin doesn't even have a price. So shouts out to what's his name now, Opti Pro Slavery Apple Maxi Fields, who's saying that it's already infinity per sat today and the world just hasn't priced it in.
Oh man. Yeah, it's infinity divided by 21 million. And I got to say something because you referenced this cycle. I think the last cycle people were like taking 100K. They were just like, it's going to hit 100K for granted. Now you could make a bunch of arguments as to why that didn't happen in regards to the China mining ban, the rehypothecation from FTX and like all these things. But the feeling that I get this cycle just based on interacting with people is that people are just like, it's like they're expecting like they're being overly bearish in a way. And just from being in Bitcoin for quite a while now, like Bitcoin tends to do the exact fucking opposite of what everyone thinks it's going to do. Right. So, yeah, I mean, that's my take on what's coming up, but it's probably a good idea to get some just in case it continues to catch on. You can't even say that anymore. Anyways, all right, I do want to give a very special shout out to our sponsor. And of course, I'm talking about the Pleb Party in Nashville. It's going to be absolutely awesome. Opti and I are going to be there. Rustin's going to be there. John's going to be there. James Lavish, Robert Breedlove, Mark Moss, Pubby, Tatum Turnup, Adam O'Brien, Larry Lepard, Preston Pish. It's going to be absolutely bonkers. It's going to be at an amazing venue, a rustic automobile factory from 1910 with brick walls and tons of proof of work atmosphere. This is the party to be if you're going to Bitcoin 2024 in Nashville. This is going to be the day before the conference starts. It's going to be the party. It's a 12-hour open bar for anyone who doesn't know what that is. The drinks are included in the ticket. It's from noon to midnight. You definitely want to miss this. There's expected to be 1,000 people in attendance.
Definitely don't want to miss it.
It's going to be 1,000. What did I say?
You definitely want to miss it.
I definitely don't want to miss it. 1,000 people are expected to be attending. You want to get your tickets quickly before they sold out. And they sell out at levels. So I think that there's only a couple tickets left at the current price point. So I'll see you guys in Nashville. at the pleb party. It's going to be absolutely bonkers. It's going to be a great time. And it's a great, it's a great opportunity. Interact with the Simply Bitcoin crew. All right, everybody, let's hit the news. Lots to talk about.
The Daily News.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation Devices. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US. It's fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a simple feature phone. So you will know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes. Experience the peace of mind that comes with taking ownership of your own keys. After a massive sellout during Bitcoin Miami 2023, the Passport is back in stock at foundationdevices.com. Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, completely air-gapped security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. If you're thinking about getting your Bitcoin off exchanges, this is the one for you. Check out the Passport link in the show notes below to learn more.
All right, incredibly easy for you guys, like always, to get yourself a Passport hardware wallet. Also, this is brand new. If you use the promo code SIMPLY, you get a discount. Guys, get yourself a hardware wallet, not your keys, not your cheese, not your keys, not your cheese. If you don't take self-custody of your Bitcoin, someone else has custody of your Bitcoin, therefore it's not your Bitcoin and you're totally cucked. You have the idea that it's your Bitcoin, but it's not your Bitcoin unless you have it in cold storage. And of course, we recommend our sponsor, Passport by Foundation Devices.
I was going to say, don't think about it. Take your Bitcoin off exchanges.
Exactly. By the way, if you don't know how to use a hardware wallet, it might be, a little perplexing for a lot of you guys. They offer a concierge service. So you get yourself a Passport hardware wallet, and then you set up a meeting with them, and they'll literally teach you how to use it, right? Which is incredibly awesome. And you could pair it up with the Envoy app on your phone. And guess what? It makes spending cold storage Bitcoin incredibly easy for, I don't know why you'd want to spend your Bitcoin, but just in case one day. Anyways, I want to talk about this because this was the news that was making the rounds. Mt. Gox, which I feel like I've heard this a million times. So the headline for audio listeners is a CoinDesk article says Mt. Gox to begin repayments in July, BTC slides under 61K. Here are the key points. Defunct Bitcoin exchange Mt. Gox said it will start distributing assets stolen from clients in a 2014 hack in July 2024 after years of postponed deadlines. The repayments will be made in Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash and could possibly add sell pressure to both markets. So, I mean, what's your take on this, Apple? Like, apparently it's 140,000 Bitcoin, but I mean, compared to Saylor stack, it's actually smaller than Saylor stack. It's still quite a lot of Bitcoin, quite a lot of apples that you can get for those Bitcoin. So Wicked, what are your thoughts on this? Was this the catalyst for the price to dump? Like we're almost in the 50K region. We're at 60,388. By the way, if you guys are watching the show, it's probably a really good opportunity to stack some sats. So head over to bitcoinwell.com, smash the buy button. Anyways, Wicked, what's your take on this, brother?
I don't know, man. And we've seen this FUD over and over again. And even if they do distribute it finally next month, and it's not like all those Bitcoin are going to be sold on the market, right? A lot of them are probably just going to be hodled. Anybody who wanted to sell their Mt. Gox Bitcoin already did, like on secondary markets. And so I don't think there's going to be very much selling of this Bitcoin that gets distributed. Maybe they'll sell the BCH though.
Oh,
so
yeah,
if
that's right.
If you're a Bcash guy, I'd be worried, but I think the Bitcoin's probably just going to be hodled.
Yeah, I agree. Opti, what's your take on this, bro?
Well,
before era.
Yeah, it's definitely before my era. But I was just gonna say, like, this is one of those news stories that just like keeps giving, and it's a constant reminder of why everyone needs to take your Bitcoin off exchanges. And so anyone that's new to Bitcoin, maybe aren't familiar with Mt. Gox, maybe they kind of heard about it, whatever. Like, this just goes to show that you do not want to leave your Bitcoin on exchanges. Any exchange will eventually, most likely, end up like Mt. Gox. And so this is why I always troll Nico about the ad where we need to update it, because it's not about thinking about taking your Bitcoin off the exchange, because a lot of people get lost in just thinking about taking their Bitcoin off an exchange. It's like you want to take the steps, even if it's a simple step. First and foremost, going into like a mobile wallet, it's better than leaving your Bitcoin on an exchange, but you want to take the baby steps to eventually get your Bitcoin into cold storage. You know, of course, we recommend Passport by Foundation because it's super easy, but you have to. This is like one of the main fundamental rules of Bitcoin is you need to take your Bitcoin into custody. I've been saying for a long time, I don't care how you get your Bitcoin, as long as you end up with your Bitcoin in cold storage. That's really what matters. And this is what Nico always says. This is how we define, you know, the fiat system, the tyranny of the fiat dollar. But with that being said, Nico, I was tagged on this right before the show happened. So since it's Monday, I'm going to pull it up and we'll get a little bullish bull sauce, hopium sauce for everyone in the chat. So apparently here's a chart here, and I need to zoom in over here so I can look at it. So I might be a little off camera, guys, but it's apparently the past 3 times that Mt. Gox repayment, quote unquote, FUD was dropped was March 6, 2023, this first line, November 22nd, 2023, and January 6, 2024. And if you look at the chart, guys, and you see one connection here is the price always goes up afterwards. So hey, if this is the last dip we need before the price pumps, then I'm absolutely for it. And it really reminds me of something that Checkmate has said on the show for us, Nico, when he came on the IRL, is the idea that the best the Bitcoin price needs a catalyst for it.
What's the second best?
The Bitcoin price needs a catalyst for it to go up higher. And what Checkmatey's been saying on his Twitter the last couple of days is like, usually the best catalyst for this is the price dumping a little bit. So this is all healthy stuff in the market. If you're new to Bitcoin, you know, don't get shaken out, keep stacking. What do we say? This is the cost of tuition. Everything will be all right. Just keep stacking, taking Bitcoin into cold storage. This is how you earn your stripes.
You have to reach Bitcoin's end, right? And you reach Bitcoin's end by, you know, just stack those sats and, you know, just unplug a little bit. Unplug. Anyways, before I move on to the next story, you guys know that I love talking about how Opti ruined it for all of us because dating history. And of course, I'm talking about the wicked witch of the East, the wicked witch of the European Union. And of course, I'm talking about Christine Lagarde, and she is the head of the European Central Bank. Now, even though this is extremely unpopular, even though it's been community noted on Twitter, they don't give a flying fuck, and they're moving on full steam ahead. In the European Union, they seems like they rebranded it, which is really interesting, ladies and gentlemen. It's not called a central bank digital currency. They're just calling it a digital euro. They're leaving the central bank digital currency completely out of the post. By the way, that is by design. And what we do here at Simply is we point this out so you guys could arm yourselves with the truth and the weapons that you need to combat the other side. Of course, when I'm talking about combat, I'm talking about information narrative trench warfare. It's a war over the hearts and minds of individuals. So this is a bait and switch. Just because they don't call it a CBDC doesn't mean that it's not a fucking CBDC, right? And here's Christine Lagarde saying we've made significant progress towards ensuring we are ready to issue a digital euro in the future if needed. If needed. That's bullshit. Again, you have to pay attention not to what they say, but pay attention to what they do, right? Oh, we're doing this if needed. You know, that reminds me of when the Federal Reserve is telling you they're not looking into a central bank digital currency, but you had Tom Emmer, the GOP majority whip, and he was basically saying like, look, I got a report to my office, and one of the mission statements of the Federal Reserve right now is investigating a central bank digital currency. So what is it? You guys are telling me one thing on one hand and the other thing on the other hand. And then you see the movements from the states, right? I think I saw, shout out to Satoshi Action Fund. It was breaking news that the state of Louisiana passed a law that would make it illegal for a central bank digital currency to be rolled out. The state of Florida is the same. They already passed the law. So this is incredibly unpopular to the point that now it's entered into the mainstream political discussion. You have the president of, a potential president of the United States, Donald Trump, and also RFK Jr. that are running against Joe Biden, basically saying, under my presidency, we would never allow central bank digital currency and we would be pro Bitcoin. And then the other side, they're not saying much. They even walked back their anti-Bitcoin stance on, in wording, not really in actions, because they realize how unpopular this is. Now, that's like, do we really live in a democracy? Is the government really representative of the people if they're marching full steam ahead with a central bank digital currency, even though it's not popular with their, to the point that they have to lie to you and gaslight you and tell you, we're actually not looking into this. But they are, in the case in the United States. In Europe, they don't give a flying fuck at this point. They're just like, you guys are just going to have to take it. But this isn't needed. Like, people aren't asking for this. The reason they're so hell-bent on rolling this out, Christine Lagarde said this. These are her words. She's like, we're at risk of losing the central bank, losing control and losing power if we don't have a digital currency. And that's what it's about. Break free from the shackles of fiat currency, because it is literal slavery. Like, even if you take out the currency confiscation, even if you take out the censorship, even if you take out the capital controls, if you take out all of that stuff, it's still slavery, because the money that you spend hours and time and energy working for is constantly stealing from you. What is that but not slavery? We are already like, somehow they psyoped us into the social contract of income tax. That's a whole other rabbit hole. But most people have not agreed to the tax of inflation, and make no mistakes, it is a tax, right? So it's our responsibility to really wake people up. A digital currency issued by a central bank isn't going to solve inflation, and that is what Bitcoin solves. Anyways, so let's move on to the official post, because it's bullshit. Let's highlight it. Here's the European Central Bank. We've published a report summarizing our progress on the digital euro project since the preparation phase started on 1 November 2023. I bet you this fucking thing is way longer than the Bitcoin white paper. A digital euro would provide an all-in-one digital payment solution that is accessible to all. Should it be issued, right? It's not a central bank digital currency. It's actually a digital euro, and we actually haven't issued it anyways, but it could be issued in the future. Like, fuck you, all right? I gotta say it. Like, fuck you. I don't believe you at this point. It would make our payments market more innovative, resilient, and less dependent on non-European schemes. And this part is extremely insidious. Why is it insidious? Because essentially they're commingling that somehow fiat money represents Europe. Like, the euro represents Europe. I would say that fiat money is a representation of the state. It is not a representation of the people. The state has a monopoly on the issuance of fiat money. It has control on fiat money. It completely controls the thing. Bitcoin could be made by anyone if you invest in the proper infrastructure, right? You can hold it. It doesn't care about your nationality. It doesn't care about capital controls. It doesn't care about sanctions. Anyone, no matter where you are in the world, you can download a Bitcoin wallet, and now you can interact with the global economy. You can't do that with the fucking digital euro. You can't do that with, an American CBDC and all that stuff. They don't want to they still want to psyop you into thinking that somehow you're non-European because you don't use the cucked state money, which is absolutely bullshit. So anyways, here's more examples of just the absolute gaslighting. And we can go completely against Joe Biden because he's against Bitcoin. And you guys know the deal on the show. We don't lean left or right. We don't care about Democrat, Republican, but we are single issue voters. We are pro the candidates that are pro Bitcoin, like Donald Trump and RFK. And we are against the candidates that are against Bitcoin. The Joe Biden administration has been extremely against Bitcoin. We've covered that in depth on this show. This is the definition of gaslighting. Okay. Inflation was 0 on a monthly basis in May. This is welcome progress, but prices are still too high. That's why I'm fighting to lower costs by increasing rental assistance, taking on big pharma, and investing in affordable clean energy. I want to focus on this part, investing. So that means that you are fucking spending money. You're printing money to tackle this is the gaslight. This is the gaslight of the century. He's basically saying, guys, Even though we cause inflation, we are the issue to inflation. The solution to inflation is less government. The solution to inflation is not the government. The solution to inflation is not a president like Joe Biden, like Donald Trump, like RFK Jr. The solution to inflation is the separation of money and state. And they won't be able to gaslight you when the only way that they're able to raise revenue, including pay themselves, is via direct taxation. They won't be able to gaslight you like this, right? So this is bullshit. And here's some awesome Bitcoiners explaining in the comments. This is what we talk about when we talk about narrative trench warfare. These are examples of that. You have the president of the United States gaslighting everyone. And then you have Bitcoiners saying, that's not true. This is why. This is the importance of you making your voice heard. Here's Walker America, huge fan of his content, says inflation compounds. Inflation was not zero. Inflation increased, but at the same rate of increase as the prior month. Bob Burnett, work won't work. Balance the budget and stop printing money instead. Corn Nuckham says inflation was zero on a monthly basis in May. So the cost of your adult diapers did not go in May. Here's Steven. Inflation year over year is what is crushing the American people. This is absolutely the fault of Joe Biden and his handlers. Going absolutely savage. Here's Clown World. Are you serious? People are struggling to afford groceries and you seem completely out of touch with reality. I don't agree. This is on purpose. You have to understand this is on purpose. Just like this and the wording that they're using, right? This is on purpose. You see how they mentioned digital physical cash? They're trying to let you know that this isn't going to replace physical cash, right? So they're trying to sneak this in. This is bullshit. The state shouldn't run people's lives. The state doesn't know better. I think the last 4 years have shown the utter catastrophes of the unintended consequences of censorship, the unintended consequences of a bureaucratic elite getting to dictate how people should run their lives, people losing their livelihoods because they didn't decide to make certain medical decisions, right? Not to mention the potential war, like the nuclear war in Ukraine, right? Potential. This is all the state. This is all state. This is all government. You have to people have to get that through their heads. And how is this whole entire system funded? They print fucking money. The central bank, it just gives them the ability to play God and essentially create money for free out of nothing that the rest of us peasants, because that's how they see us, have to work for. And that is absolutely absurd. So if you want world peace, if you want to be able to save for a better future, if you want to live the American dream, no matter where you are in the world, get on a Bitcoin standard. And the beauty of Bitcoin is as soon as you adopt it and you put it into cold storage, definitely get yourself a Passport hardware wallet. You are part of the revolution. You are part of the movement of the separation of money and state. You're part of it. That's all you got to do is buy Bitcoin and Bitcoin, mine Bitcoin, put it in cold storage. That's it. You're part of this revolution. You're enacting change, not through the democratic process they say is the end all be all, but through a process of opting out of their system entirely. And I'll tell you this, guys, it's 100% voluntary and it's 100% done by incentives. Their CBDC system, their Euro system is 100% a coercive system. They're not going to get people to sign up to this shit voluntarily. They're going to coerce people and then hide behind, oh, this is good for the greater good. Fuck you. Bullshit. I remember what you did in 2008. You fucked the rest of us. You bailed out the bankers. No bankers went to jail. And you completely stole the time and energy of the Zoomer and millennial generation. So I don't believe you guys anymore. And that's why Bitcoin was born. And that's why we're here. And that's why we're going to fucking win. Because we don't believe what you have to say anymore. It's fucking bullshit. And now we have the internet. We can combat you peer-to-peer. This is why you hate this. This is why journalists love the ability to just control the fucking narrative all the time. Look, I have an actual video of Elon talking about this. There's another type of phenomenon that we're all living through that people have to understand. This is the disintermediation of money and money, but this is also the disintermediation of information, because the internet allows mass scale peer-to-peer communications, right? So let's check out Elon. He has about a 37 second clip. Also, he was in Miami for this, so shout out to 305. And then I'll pass it on to Opti and Wicked.
Now, the thing that a lot of traditional journalists don't like is they don't like being put on the same platform as the average citizen. They don't like their voice being the same. They're pretty mad about that. I think it's very important to elevate citizen journalism. I think it's very important to hear the voice of the people, the actual voice of the people, not the filtered voice of the people. And let the people choose the narrative, and let the people determine the truth, and not 5 editors-in-chiefs of major publications. Do you want to know what's really going on? Or do
And that's it. Like, it's as simple as that. Let the free market of ideas come to their own conclusions. Let's not let, a handful of editors get to determine what is the truth, what is not the truth, period. Anyways, Opti, what's your take, bro?
First and foremost, I got to give Nico some horns for Nico Jones is so back today. I was literally telling Nico last night, like, we need some good old fashioned Nico Jones rants. We need to unleash Nico here. Anyways, going back to the CBDC or digital euro news. The first thing that popped in my mind, besides the fact that they completely rebranded the CBDC project to just the digital euro, it's absolutely incredible that they are obviously listening. And I think I said this last week, where it's becoming very obvious that they're listening to what people are saying on the internet, and then they're trying to craft their narratives in such a way so that they don't get the backlash from everyone on Twitter. And I think this is one of those moves right here where, like, good catch on the digital euro, no longer being called the central bank digital euro project or whatever. It's just simply the digital euro. And again, when I heard the digital euro, my first thoughts is always like, the euro is already digital. All fiat currencies are already digital. Like, if you understand that, then what's the real thing? What's the real need for the digital euro project or central bank digital currency? And that's where the narrative falls off, because they always frame it in the same way. They're always like, oh, this is for all-in-one digital payments. Like, your payments are going to get better on the internet. And it's like that is not what Bitcoin is about. But you can tell that the gaslighting is strong, and that a lot of people still believe that Bitcoin is only about digital payments. And until we work on educating people on that idea that Bitcoin isn't just about digital payments, it's not about paying better on the internet. It's about keeping your saving. It's about fighting inflation. And they never once ever talk about inflation being the problem. And when they do, they gaslight you, like that Joe Biden tweet there, where he literally talked about things that are going to increase inflation. They basically said, like, we're going to spend more money here. We're going to print more money, and this is going to fix inflation. And people out there think that this is an actual fix. Like, he should be embarrassed that he actually tweeted that, because none of those things will fix inflation. The real problem, like, Walker was saying, is that they're printing obscene amount of money. They're going to continue to print money. They have to keep printing money. This is how the fiat systems work. And the first one, it really grind my gears. It's like, how we're going to fix inflation. We're going to increase rental assistance. Like, we're going to add on to the welfare and print more money. And that's going to help your inflation, guys, which just goes to show that most people don't understand basic economics, and they will continue to gaslight them
on purpose.
On purpose,
too,
exactly.
They don't teach that at school. There's a very famous Charlie Kirk video, and he's kind of doing interviews, and he was just interviewing people. It's like, do they teach Mises? Do they teach Hayek? Do they teach whatever? And then he's like, no, they don't teach that. And then Charlie Kirk rightly so is like, so you're not going to school, you're being propagandized, right? So this is what people have to understand, is that people are being taught Keynesian economics. People are being taught that somehow inflation is a fact of life, which is absurd. Like, think about that for a second. Like, they've psyoped a huge portion of the population into thinking that money has to lose purchasing power to function. And that's where we have to keep pressing. They don't have a good answer to that. They don't have a good response.
Nico, but my roads, bro.
And we'll get it. We'll do an episode on that. Anyways, Wicked, what's your take on all this, bro? The gaslighting, the propaganda, and also I would say the winning, because if we weren't winning, then they wouldn't change. They wouldn't rebrand the European CBDC.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always kind of on the lookout for what are some of the things that they're doing to try to coerce us into adopting a CBDC, or, as they're calling it, a digital euro now. And I think the big thing that we'll start to see is UBI start to get rolled out, especially as financial markets start to crumble, right, at an accelerated rate. We might actually enter a recession or a depression at some point. And when they turn on the QE machines, they're going to need a way to distribute those funds. And I don't know if they're going to cut checks like last time. I think this time they're trying to roll out a CBDC so that they can say, listen, you just download this CBDC app, and then we'll give you your UBI checks to help you with, all of your struggles in life. But what they won't say is how those CBDCs they're gonna have capital controls, they're gonna have restrictions, and they're gonna lock you into, a situation that you're not going to be aware of until it's too late. And so you're going to get free money, but you're only going to be able to buy very limited things with it. Maybe it'll help you pay rent and those types of things. And I don't know. I'm sure. I mean, it's hard to say you wouldn't take it, right? Like if the government says, "Hey, download this app and we'll help you pay your rent," are you gonna decline that? Or are you gonna?
I would love, dude. If they were like UBI, I'd be like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm gonna put that into Bitcoin, bro.
Well, I remember when they printed the 2020. It's like, yeah, give me free money. I bought Bitcoin with it. It was great.
It's like a speculative attack.
This is exactly what I'm saying, though, right? Like the 2020 checks, you could spend on whatever you wanted, but if they did it via CBDC, you wouldn't be able to. And so I think that's the next kind of pumping of liquidity into the system when things start to fail might be rolled out with a CBDC so that they can be more restrictive with how you can spend these things. Now, again, sure, you want to help me pay my rent? Great, help me pay my rent, and then that excess capital will go into Bitcoin. So it's like either way, I'm getting more Bitcoin, but I don't think you'll be able to buy Bitcoin with the CBDC that they give you through UBI.
Amen. No, of course, because it's an attack. Like if they're just giving you this fake money and you're buying something that's absolute scarcity, you're inherently like attacking the system on a much smaller scale that Michael Saylor is like speculatively attacking the dollar using the infinite money glitch. But it's essentially the same, right? It's that they're using their system in order to buy something with absolute scarcity. That's a one-way road, right? Anyways, before we move on to the culture, I'd give a very special shout out to our sponsor, and of course, talking about the Orange Pill app. The Orange Pill app is the Bitcoin social layer. Stack friends who stack sats. Join the 10,826 Bitcoiners that are currently on the app. It's a really cool app, has a clever filtration system, so you'll only find fellow Bitcoiners that are currently on the application, and also has a really clever geographical feature. So if you're traveling, you're on the go, and you don't know any Bitcoiners near you, you pull up the Orange Pill app, and it will literally show you the Bitcoiners geographically that are near you. So if you're going to a new city, you move to a new city, and everyone's a no coiner, the Orange Pill app is for you. It's the best way to reach me directly. Send me a DM on the Orange Pill app, and I will get back to you. All right, everybody, let's get to the culture. Lots to talk about.
The Daily Culture.
Give a shout out to our sponsor, KABOOMRACKS, the most trusted place to buy, sell, and host mining equipment. To check out their racks, scan the QR code on your screen, take you directly to their Telegram marketplace where you can connect with a member of their sales team. They make purchasing their products easy and transparent. You could also sell your mining equipment with KABOOMRACKS, access their vast network of domestic and international customers when you sell your mining equipment with KABOOMRACKS. What are you waiting for? Start your mining journey today. Check out KABOOMRACKS. Also, if you're interested in hosting, check out their special sale that's going on right now. They're offering instant hosting for the S19K Pro 120 terahashes. You own the miner. This is not a hash rate contract. Your hash rate goes online right after your payment is confirmed. So check out KABOOMRACKS today, scan the QR code, or check the link in the video/podcast description. Anyways, I'm going to move it on because we have a very special guest today. We have Wicked in the house. Wicked is incredibly wicked at creating these amazing kind of graphical interfaces, kind of explaining the price action of history, just breaking it down, and it's incredibly popular. It's really, really good work. So Wicked, thank you for joining us, man.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Awesome. Okay. All right. I'm going to pivot here before we get to some of these charts, because we were going to talk about this earlier. Before we even went on, Nika was asking Wicked his thoughts on diminishing returns, and I feel like that might be a good place to start. And then we'll pivot into Wicked becoming a bits maxi, which I know is going to trigger everyone in the chat. So let's just start with Wicked. What's your thoughts on the diminishing returns meme? I know this has been kind of a constant thread going on in the Bitcoin space recently, and I know you look at the Bitcoin price very intently, and you try to parse out what's going on with the Bitcoin price action today, where we are in the future, and making at least a mental map of what we can expect moving forward. So what's your general thoughts on diminishing returns?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's a strong narrative, and it's one that if you're just looking kind of epoch after epoch of the returns of Bitcoin, it seems as though they are diminishing, right? So just looking at the returns, we have 4 epochs that are completed. Now we're in the 5th. Right. The first epoch, they had a return of infinity because it went from 0 to, a price. Second epoch, you got a 53x. third epoch, you got a 14x, and the fourth epoch, the one that just finished, you got a 7x. Okay, so it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Everyone's expecting this next one to be even smaller. So what, like a 2, 3, or 4x, something like that. I think that's bullshit. I think that we have, at least another epoch or two where we could exceed the previous one. So we could exceed a return of 7x, over the maybe this epoch or maybe the next one. The other thing that you have to consider is like, it's not just, okay, so like you're considering purchasing power returns, right? And yes, there's a cap as to how valuable Bitcoin can get, because if it gets more valuable than everything in the world, then that starts to not make much sense, right? But if you're just pricing things in terms of dollars, and that dollars are inflating, then that at a certain point, the acceleration of the inflation of the dollar is going to get crazy, like Weimar status, and then your quote unquote returns in terms of dollars are going to be insane, right? Now, of course, you won't care as much about it at that point because you'll just want Bitcoin. You'll start pricing things in terms of Bitcoin. But there will be an epoch in the future where the returns are infinity again. People don't understand it. It's like they don't grok it, right? It's like literally the dollar is going to zero, which means that the return in terms of Bitcoin is going to infinity. At some point, there will be an epoch where we go to infinity returns again, and then it will be over for the dollar, and it'll just be a Bitcoin standard at that point. So,
and those who have Bitcoin, because like if you look at countries that experience this like kind of hyperinflationary period, right? What tends to happen is if you are holding on to, like in the case of Argentina, for example, when Argentina was going through this, and it seems like Milei got it mostly under control, but if you're going through that kind of period in history, what tends to happen is if you're holding dollars, you're a king. Like if you're holding the good currency, and in this case, in the case of the dollar, it'd be like if you're holding Bitcoin, you're going to do very well, right? Because everyone's going to want it. The hyperinflation doesn't happen because there's a limit that gets hit because they printed so much money. Hyperinflation is a phenomenon where essentially the population, it reaches a critical mass where enough people lose faith in the currency and they all try to get rid of it at once, right? That's what hyperinflation is. And what always happens, and of course in America, I don't think there's ever been a hyperinflationary perier. We're about to go under 50.
I think we already went under 60K. This is lagging over here. His block clock
660, 259.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, this is interesting price action. Interesting price action. But yeah, that's what you have to understand, right? Is that Bitcoin is king in these types of situations. Anyways, pass it back on to holy shit. It is a fucking giant candle.
Let me pull it up. Go on Wicked and I'll pull it up.
Yeah, I was gonna say
ahead.
another thing. So it's not just holding the superior, money, right? So if you're in Argentina, you're holding dollars, you're doing a lot better than people who are holding Argentine pesos. But it's also pricing your goods and services in terms of the superior money, right? Because if you're pricing your services in terms of the peso, Argentine peso, and then it gets inflated, you have to now renegotiate all of your prices way, way higher. Whereas if you had been pricing them in terms of dollars, now you don't have to renegotiate. You're still earning the same amount of dollars, right? So same thing happens with Bitcoin. It's like you're not only adopting it to hold it, but you also have to adopt it as your unit of account so that when your fiat currency inflates, you don't have to renegotiate all your prices. You have them already in Bitcoin.
Love it. And the perfect segue, because I know you wanted to talk about the bits versus sats debate, and I think that's a perfect. I do have a tweet here of yours, which let me pull that up as well while you go. And I think the biggest takeaway that I got from we briefly talked about it before the show, but it's that no one's bullish enough. I think that's a good indicator of what we're talking about. But you had this tweet and you just hit this on the head a second ago. You should start measuring your net worth in terms of Bitcoin. Then your priority will shift from trying to make fiat profits to preserving your Bitcoin denominated wealth. And I absolutely love that framing as well. I say that all the time. But segue that conversation into no one's bullish enough and why you are starting to become a bit maxi.
All right. So just to touch on that tweet real quick. So, it's like, and this is especially important as we're dumping, right? If you're measuring your net worth in terms of dollars right now, you're freaking out because your net worth just went down, right? Assuming you're holding mostly Bitcoin. If you're measuring it in terms of Bitcoin, then what you're going to notice is it's either stayed flat because you're already all in, or if you have a little dollars on the side, it actually just went up, right? So, this is a good thing. Your Bitcoin denominated net worth most likely just went up because I know a lot of these motherfuckers are still holding dollars. I don't know why. But yeah, this is a good thing, right? So now's a good time to deploy those dollars so that you lock in that Bitcoin denominated net worth, right? You don't want it to go down. It just ticked up a little bit. So lock that in and deploy those dollars that you still have left. All right. So the bits conversation, we can move on to that. This is kind of tying in with everything we've been saying. So, kind of like where Bitcoin's headed in terms of a price, and then how people are going to start pricing things. I think a very, very modest target for Bitcoin price is like $1 million, right? I think everyone has $1 million on their mind. We all know it's going there eventually. It'd be kind of surprising if it reached there this epoch, right? But maybe the next one, maybe the one after that. It's not a matter of if, it's when, right? So when Bitcoin reaches $1 million, I think that will kind of be a signal that we've reached kind of like a very high level of adoption globally, right? You don't reach $1 million without getting a decent amount of people involved in Bitcoin, if not the majority of people. So at that point, we're gonna actually start pricing things in terms of Bitcoin, right? People are gonna start saying, okay, we've adopted this as our money, or at least we're saving in it, and we're comfortable with the idea of Bitcoin being money or savings. Now we want to spend some of it, or we want to earn more of it, right? They're gonna start pricing things in terms of Bitcoin. At $1 million of Bitcoin, 1 bit equals $1. It's bit dollar parity, right? I think this is going to be a key kind of inflection where it will be very interesting to see prices listed at your grocery store, dollars next to bits, right? You'll see, at that point, maybe a gallon of milk, if you're in the States, will cost like $10, right? Due to inflation. And then right next to it, you'll see 10 bits, right? And maybe you'll wait a year or two and you go back to the grocery store, and then it will be $11 and 9 bits. And so you'll really start to see this this divergence of the prices, and it'll be very, very clear if the prices are in bits, right? If they're in sats, it'll still be, clear, but not as clear, right? Like we need it to be as clear as possible for the normies at that time. And I think bits is going to make it very, very clear, especially if you're a United States normie, which, living in the States, that's kind of all we care about. So,
have you heard of NACS?
What's NACS?
It's a superior unit of account to bits.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. What is it?
I don't know.
Oh, by the way, I probably should have said right from the start, a bit is a millionth of a Bitcoin. that's an important thing just to lay out for anyone who doesn't know that. It's 100 sats. So a bit to a sat is the same thing as $1 to a cent, right?
Yeah.
It's just kind of, it makes the conversion.
And actually, Wicked, just to your point, this is our boy Weinicus, and he's low key trolling you, but I think that's the point that we're kind of saying. Weinicus goes, bits are for dummies, and it's like, yeah, we're talking about normies
exactly.
here. This is exactly what we're talking about. This is why it's the perfect unit of account.
That's what people don't understand.
Yeah. Anyways, Wicked, before I give you the floor again, NAC is just 69 sats, so it's a troll metric.
Nice.
It's a troll metric.
It's a superior unit of account.
Super easy to
easy maths here
to divide, right? Yeah, everyone knows all the 69 multiples.
Oh man, but yeah, man. No, I agree. That's a really good point, Wicked. Like in all seriousness, like and I think it's Adam Back who's also a fan.
Yeah, he loves bits.
He loves bits as well. That's a very, very interesting perspective.
Yeah, like I'm a sats maxi. I do all my math in sats. Sats is easy, but the 1 bit to 100 sats, comparing it to $1 with 100 pennies. like $1 million Bitcoin, you know, 1 bit equals $1. Like, I don't know. It makes perfect sense to me when it's kind of like just simplify the math for the normies out there. So like, I don't know. I've been trying to push bits as well, even though I do all my math in sats, but like I get why it might eventually end up bits, which is kind of what Wicked is saying.
And listen, I mean, so sats are still there, right? It's not like we're getting rid of sats. You know, cents are still here too. We didn't get rid of cents just because we all started using dollars to denominate things. And by the way, if things cost less than $1, what do you see the price at? Or what do you see the denomination used in grocery stores? You see that little cent sign with like whatever 99, right? So like we still use cents now if things are cheap enough. And with Bitcoin, you know, we'll go through this transitory phase where we're using bits because things are better priced in terms of bits. You know, like I said, a gallon of milk costs 10 bits or whatever, right? But eventually, because Bitcoin goes up in value over time and things get cheaper in terms of Bitcoin over time, maybe that gallon of milk will cost 99 sats at a certain point, and then we'll start using sats again. So it'll kind of be like an opposite way of going through history, right? Whereas with fiat, we used to denominate everything in terms of cents. Things were like 10 cents, 5 cents, 4.5 cents, whatever, right? And then as we progressed through time and got more and more inflation, we got dollars. And now with Bitcoin, I think we're going to go through a phase where we're using bits. And then as more and more time progresses and Bitcoin gets more valuable, then we'll transition to using sats. But there will be a period of bits. Bits will reign supreme, I think, for a decent amount of time, and people are sleeping on it.
I agree 100%. It's a very, very good way of breaking it down. Anyways, Wicked.
Wait, Nico, don't end it yet. I want to ask Wicked one more thing before we go.
That's what I was gonna.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought you were gonna end it. No, okay.
Yeah. So we do have to start getting ready for the Mining Disrupt conference. But Wicked, I want to give you the floor. Do you have any last message for the 1,753 people that are currently watching live, plus the 50 or so of you guys watching live from Rumble? By the way, guys, smash the like button. We only got 120 likes. We could do better. Those are rookie numbers. So if you guys are enjoying the show on YouTube, X, or Rumble, smash the like button. Really helps with the algo. So Wicked, give you the floor, bro.
Yeah, you gotta pump those numbers up. I mean, I think so. It's the same as always, right? You stack sats, start measuring your net worth in terms of Bitcoin, hodl your Bitcoin, earn more than you spend, save all your excess wealth in Bitcoin. Do that shit for at least a whole cycle and see where you're at. I guarantee you're going to be better off than where you started, and then you're going to be a Bitcoiner for life. So, you know, just fucking keep going.
Amen. 100%. I always say this too. It takes 4 years to realize you've made a good decision, and then it takes 8 years to be relatively wealthy compared to where you started from. So anyways, guys, that was Simply Bitcoin Live for June 24th, 2024. I'm your host, Nico's, my legendary co-host, Optimus Fields, our guest for today, Wicked. You can go follow him on Twitter at W_S_Bitcoin. Drop some really hot fire signal. Like I said in the beginning of the show, we will be off on Tuesday and Wednesday because we will be live streaming the Mining Disrupt conference coming out of Miami. You're going to have the largest Bitcoin miners and CEOs and executives going to be at that conference. There's so many panels. I believe Ted Cruz is going to be making an appearance. Also, a lot of well-known, Bitcoin mining executives as well. So really, really excited for that. So guys, tune into the Simply Bitcoin channel tomorrow and Wednesday, and then we'll be back with the live show on Thursday for a brand new episode of Simply Bitcoin Live. Until then, love you, everybody. Take care. Peace out, everybody.
Episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, on a mission to enable independence.